Listen, I need you to understand something. When the Galactic Council decides to test a species for membership, they do not mess around. They have protocols. Standards. A whole bureaucratic nightmare of assessments designed to weed out the weak, the foolish, and the aggressively stupid, and then there are humans. My name is Vortex. Though most beings just call me Vort, because apparently 3 syllables are too exhausting for the average carbon-based life form. I work as an evaluation coordinator for the Council, which is a fancy way of saying I watch species fail spectacularly at survival tests, and then file the paperwork. 17 cycles I have been doing this job. 17 cycles of watching civilizations crumble under pressure, watching so-called intelligent beings make catastrophically bad decisions, and watching my faith in the universe slowly drain away like water through a sieve. But nothing, and I mean absolutely nothing, prepared me for Marcus Webb. The human arrived at testing outpost Gamma 3 on a Tuesday. I hate Tuesdays. They never bring anything good. He stepped off the transport shuttle looking entirely too cheerful for someone about to be dumped on a death world with nothing but basic survival gear and a vague hope of not becoming something else's lunch. Marcus was tall by human standards, with dark skin, eyes that seemed to constantly calculate odds, and a smile that made my secondary nervous system twitch. He wore their standard pre-test uniform, a grey jumpsuit that somehow looked both utilitarian and casual on his frame, and carried himself with the kind of confidence that usually precedes a really entertaining disaster. So, he said, extending his hand in that bizarre human greeting ritual they insist on performing, you must be my assessor. Marcus Webb, engineer/survival enthusiast/apparently insane person, according to my ex-wife. I stared at his hand. We do not have hands in the traditional sense. I have manipulation tentacles, which are far more practical, and do not require constant shaking. Right, sorry, Marcus withdrew his hand, completely unbothered. Different species, different customs. I get it. So when do we start this whole survive or die thing? I have got a betting pool back home, and I would really hate to disappoint the folks who put money on me making it past day 3. This was already going badly. The survival test is simple in concept, horrifying in execution. We drop candidates on Xerath 5, a planet so hostile that we use it to train military shock troops. It has acidic rain, carnivorous plants, predators that hunt in packs and have been known to develop tactical planning, and temperature swings that can freeze or cook you depending on which hemisphere you pick for camping. Candidates get a knife, a fire starter, a water purifier, and 30 days to not die. Most species tap out within 72 hours. The record for actually completing the full 30 days belonged to the Kraliks, a warrior race with armored skin and the ability to enter hibernation at will. They sent their best soldier. He came back 14 kilograms lighter, and with psychological trauma that required 6 months of therapy. You will be inserted into Zone 7, I explained, pulling up the holographic display. It contains all major threat categories. Megafauna predators. Hostile plant life. Limited fresh water sources. Extreme weather patterns. Your objective is simple. Survive for 30 days. A beacon will activate on day 30 for extraction. Questions? Marcus leaned forward, studying the topographical maps with intense focus. His eyes tracked elevation changes, water sources, forest density. Then he pointed at a region marked with flashing red warnings. What is that area there? The one with all the scary symbols. The Razorback Peaks. Inhabited by slashers. Pack hunters. Roughly 2 meters tall, capable of short burst speeds exceeding 60 kilometers per hour, retractable claws, rudimentary tool use. 3.7 on the mortality index. We advise extreme avoidance. Advise, Marcus repeated, that unsettling smile growing wider. But not require. Candidates who seek out slashers do not typically require extraction, I said flatly. They require shovels. Small ones. Noted. He did not look deterred. He looked interested. I should have realized then. Should have seen the warning signs. Should have done literally anything except approve his insertion. But the council has rules, and I follow rules, which is why I hate my job. 72 hours later, I checked the monitoring feeds, fully expecting to file another failure report. Standard procedure called for checking candidate vital signs 3 times daily. Most evaluators just waited for the death alert to ping. Marcus Webb's vital signs were fine. Better than fine. His heart rate was steady. His core temperature was optimal. His beacon placed him near a water source in the southern forests. I pulled up the visual feed from his tracking implant. He had built a shelter. Not just any shelter. A legitimate structure with a raised floor, thatched roof, and what appeared to be a smoking rack for preserving meat. A fire burned in a stone-lined pit. Various tools hung from the walls, carved from stone and bone, and he was cooking something. Status report, day 3, Marcus spoke directly to the implant's recorder, apparently aware we monitored everything. So I have got good news and weird news. Good news, I have not died. Weird news, I think I accidentally befriended a slasher. No. No, that was not possible. Slashers were apex predators. They did not befriend. They consumed. The camera angle shifted as Marcus moved, and I saw it. A juvenile slasher, maybe half the size of an adult, sitting near the fire like some kind of nightmarish pet. It was gnawing on what looked like a roasted carcass of something I could not identify. So here is what happened, Marcus continued, turning something over on a makeshift grill. Day 1, I am setting up camp, and this little guy's mom tries to eat me. Standard predator stuff, no hard feelings. But here is the thing about slashers that your database apparently missed. They hunt in family units. Mom was the muscle, but Junior here was watching from the trees, learning. He gestured at the creature with a wooden spatula. Where did he get a spatula? Anyway, Mom was not a great fighter. Too aggressive, no strategy. I managed to redirect her into some of those carnivorous brambles your planet is so fond of, and well, nature took its course. But Junior got stuck up a tree when some other predator came sniffing around. Something with too many legs and not enough good intentions. The slasher made a chittering sound. Marcus tossed it a piece of cooked meat. It caught the food mid-air and devoured it with disturbing efficiency. So I figured, the enemy of my enemy might not eat me immediately. Scared off the leg monster, helped Junior down, shared some food. Turns out, slashers are highly intelligent. This one learned basic hand signals in 6 hours. We have an understanding now. I do not try to eat him, he does not try to eat me, and we both try to eat everything else before it eats us. I stared at the screen. This was not possible. This was not how survival tests worked. Also, Marcus added, carefully plating his meal on a flat stone, I have been experimenting with local cuisine. That purple root vegetable thing. Poisonous if eaten raw, but if you boil it twice and roast it with the fat from those armored rabbit things, it tastes like a cross between potato and butter. I am calling it a butato. I am definitely calling it a butato. The human had been on a death world for 3 days. 3 days. And he was developing recipes. I flagged his file for immediate supervisor review. Something was very wrong. Either our test was broken, or humans were far more terrifying than anyone realized. 2 weeks later, things had somehow gotten worse. Or better. I honestly could not tell anymore. By day 14, Marcus Webb had created what I can only describe as a small civilization in the middle of a planet specifically designed to prevent civilization from existing. The shelter had expanded into a compound. 3 separate structures now stood in a clearing that should not exist, considering the carnivorous vines typically consumed anything stationary within 48 hours. Except Marcus had apparently figured out that the vines were allergic to the smoke from burning moss kelp, a plant so toxic that we used it for chemical warfare training. He was using chemical weapons as insect repellent. Casually, the slasher he had befriended, which he named Spike, because humans apparently cannot resist giving deadly predators cute names, had brought friends. 2 more juveniles now patrolled the perimeter of his camp, responding to whistle commands like trained guard animals. I watched through the monitoring feed as Marcus taught them to alert for specific threats. 2 whistles meant aerial predators. 3 meant ground-based. 1 long whistle meant dinner time. He had created a ranking system. 4 predators. Based on how likely they were to respond to food-motivated training. Day 14 report, Marcus announced to his implant while stirring a pot suspended over his fire. So I have made significant progress on the local ecosystem mapping. Turns out this planet operates on a fairly simple food chain once you account for the seasonal migration patterns and territorial disputes. Also, I have been working on my recipe collection. He held up what appeared to be a bound book made from treated animal hide, filled with pages of pressed plant leaves. Written on these pages in charcoal were detailed notes with diagrams. Chapter 1, Things that will kill you immediately. Chapter 2, Things that will kill you eventually, but taste great. Chapter 3, Things that probably will not kill you if you cook them right. I am particularly proud of Chapter 3. That is where the good stuff lives. A notification alert flashed across my screen. My supervisor, Director Carlanth, wanted an immediate conference. That could not be good. I activated the communication link. Carlanth's face appeared, her skin plates arranged in what I had learned to recognize as extreme confusion mixed with mild panic. Vortex, she said slowly, I need you to explain to me why the human candidate in your test zone has apparently opened a restaurant. It is not a restaurant, I protested weakly. It is more of a survival camp with extensive food preparation facilities. He has 3 separate cooking stations. 3. And according to these readings, he is producing food surplus beyond personal consumption requirements. What is he doing with the extra food? I pulled up the most recent surveillance footage. Marcus was indeed producing way more food than one human could possibly eat. The excess was being stored in an underground cache he had dug, lined with ice from the northern caves, creating a primitive, but effective refrigeration system. I believe, I said carefully, he is planning for winter. The planet enters its cold cycle in approximately 20 days. He is not supposed to be here for winter. The test ends in 16 days. The human may not be aware of that timeline limitation. We watched in silence as Marcus conducted what appeared to be a training session with his slasher pack. They were learning to hunt cooperatively, driving prey toward predetermined kill zones where Marcus had set up traps. Sophisticated traps. Traps that suggested engineering background and way too much free time. One of the slashers successfully drove a six-legged deer creature directly into a pit covered with branches. Marcus praised it verbally and with hand gestures. The predator chittered with what I could only describe as pride. This is unprecedented, Carlanth murmured. The slashers have never displayed this level of social bonding with other species. They are obligate carnivores with territorial aggression patterns. Apparently, they are also food-motivated and responsive to positive reinforcement training. Marcus had moved on to teaching them basic commands. Sit. Stay. Do not eat the supply cache. The slashers followed instructions with shocking consistency, clearly understanding that cooperation meant regular meals and protection from larger predators. What happens when we extract him? Carlanth asked. Those creatures will have become dependent on human interaction. That is not my problem, I said, perhaps too quickly. I just evaluate. Ecological disruption falls under a different department. Day 21 brought what I had started calling the incident. A territorial dispute erupted in Zone 7 between two alpha predators, a razorback alpha and a thornscale bull, both competing for the same hunting grounds. These creatures were in the 4.2 range on the mortality index. When they fought, smart beings evacuated entire regions and waited for the carnage to end. Marcus Webb apparently did not receive that memo. I watched in mounting horror as he assessed the situation, consulted his recipe book, then turned to his slasher pack with what I can only describe as tactical planning gestures. He was treating an extinction-level predator fight like a strategic opportunity. Okay team, he said, checking his weapons, which now included a spear, several throwing blades, and something that looked suspiciously like a crossbow made from scavenged parts. Here is the situation. Two massive predators about to fight to the death over territory that includes our camp. We have three options. Run away and lose everything we built. Hide and hope they do not destroy our home. Or, and hear me out on this, we pick a side. No. Absolutely not. That was the worst possible decision. Marcus pointed at the razorback alpha. That one has been hunting near the northern stream, disrupting the fish populations I have been cultivating. Also, it tried to eat Spike last week. I hold grudges. The slashers chittered in agreement. They also apparently held grudges. The thornscale is territorial, but not actively hostile to us. If we help it win, it might leave us alone. Plus, he grinned that terrifying human grin, razorback meat is supposed to be incredibly tender. I have been wanting to try it. He was going to help one apex predator kill another apex predator, because he wanted to try new recipes. This human had lost his mind. The fight that followed was the most stressful 17 minutes of my professional career. Marcus and his pack of trained slashers engaged in coordinated attacks, distracting the razorback at critical moments, allowing the thornscale to land devastating strikes. They used the terrain, their size advantage for mobility, and what appeared to be actual military tactics. When the razorback finally fell, Marcus approached the thornscale carefully, hands visible, posture non-threatening. He had brought food. Of course he brought food. The massive predator, exhausted from battle, accepted the offering. They sat there, human and monster, sharing a meal over the corpse of their mutual enemy. Day 21, Marcus reported later, while butchering the razorback with expert precision. Successfully established diplomatic relations with local apex predator. Also confirmed that razorback meat is amazing. Tastes like beef mixed with venison. 10 out of 10, would risk death again. Director Carlanth called me every day after that. Sometimes twice a day. What is he doing now? Smoking meat and teaching the slashers to fish. And now, building what appears to be a greenhouse using transparent membranes from those jellyfish creatures in the acid pools. How is that possible? I have stopped asking that question. My mental health has improved significantly. Day 30 arrived with a mixture of relief and genuine curiosity about what condition the human would be in. Most candidates who completed the full duration came back traumatized, malnourished, and swearing never to set foot on another planet again. The extraction shuttle landed in Zone 7 at the designated coordinates. I went personally, because I needed to see this with my own eyes. Marcus Webb emerged from the forest looking healthier than when he arrived. He had gained muscle mass. His skin showed tan from sun exposure, but no serious injuries. He carried a large pack, and behind him walked 3 fully grown slashers moving in formation like trained soldiers. "Hey Vought," he called out cheerfully. "Good timing. I just finished packing." "Packing what exactly?" He patted his bag. "Samples. Seeds. My recipe book. Oh, and I need to talk to someone about immigration paperwork for Spike and his siblings. They are coming with me." "You cannot bring the slashers." "Why not?" "They are domesticated now. Completely trained. Watch." He whistled. All 3 slashers sat immediately. "See. Good boys." "Who are good boys?" "You are." The predators chittered happily. I felt my grip on reality loosening. The council will never approve. Then I will file an appeal. These are sentient beings capable of learning and social bonding. Abandoning them would be unethical. He scratched one behind what might have been ears. It leaned into his hand, making a sound disturbingly similar to purring. The shuttle pilot refused to take off until the slashers were secured in the cargo bay. Marcus negotiated safety protocols, demonstrated their training, and eventually convinced everyone that they were safer with the predators cooperative than fighting them. As we lifted off, Marcus pressed his face against the viewport, looking down at his camp. "I am going to miss this place," he said quietly. "Best month of my life. No bills. No traffic. Just survival, cooking, and making friends with murder lizards." "Your species is insane," I told him. "Yeah," he agreed happily. "But we are really good at it." The council approved humanity for membership 3 days later. Unanimously. With a note that humans should probably be kept away from survival testing programs in the future, because they kept accidentally improving the death worlds and adopting the local predators. Marcus Webb now runs a consulting business teaching other species survival techniques. He has a waiting list 17 months long. Spike and his siblings became interstellar celebrities, and I have been promoted to human relations coordinator. I still hate Tuesdays. But now for completely different reasons.